turned into apartments.
That could definitely be something.
Well, that's what, yeah, I don't know where you're gonna park.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Better public streets.
The best deal was when we had the old Wellington and the extension, and Corning bought it, and the front of it became a reasonably low price thing for primarily alcoholic, or not alcoholic, but workaholic. They say there are no real mistakes. Politicians who just always want to be at work. So like Cuomo lived there, and one of the speakers were there because they could walk across the street.
Oh, wow.
And so on. But in the back, there were over 200 students. And the good thing about the students is the one thing you don't get, at least in that day and age, you never had a bathroom. That was always something down the hall. And if you've got an old hotel room, you had your own private bathroom and so on. So that was packed. And Tom Whalen got in and he hired a budget director, first time ever, who just could see no point in having it, just sell it. And it was too bad, because the thing about students, which can be such a liability for something like Pine Hills, where they want to take 3-bedroom apartments and turn them into 6 roommates, and it's been a major problem. On the other hand, the liability in a residential neighborhood, particularly a blue-collar neighborhood that really needs the housing, when you have them downtown, they're an asset, because they do nothing but spend money, wander the streets, etc. They're always around. There's life in your downtown. And if you've got an athletic event in the then Knickerbocker Arena, or you have a show that's not going very well, you start papering the house with the kids and get them into the habit. So they're perfect to have a dormitory in a downtown. You're trying to keep it looking alive all the time.
That's good point.
It's too bad. It should have been left right the way it was for what it did.
Yeah, it begs the question, how many people occupy 100 State Street?
Well,
Big ass building.
it's already
missing 2 meetings.
That's already
but this road
put in 90 State Street is being turned into.
Make sure she doesn't shoot me anymore.
Once you get above the first or second floor, then, again, I don't know what to do with the cars, but
If she was out of town, she might be.
People just gotta walk more.
But is there a residential market
Right.
downtown Albany?
I remember at one point they had put in this administration, which is now going on to 12 years, they had like 250 more residential apartments. The arcade building's a prime example.
Right.
I'd move downtown in a heartbeat if there was like places that were suitably.
Trying to get a quorum. So
Well, we do have 4.
Yeah.
We can start.
We can start.
These first 2 will go pretty quickly. Yeah.
And Marilyn is online.
She's online?
We're totally good to start. When she comes in, she can hop in the votes and
All
stuff.
Yeah.
Call the meeting to order then. This is a regularly scheduled meeting of the Historic Resources Commission of the City of Albany. In attendance this evening, we have myself, John Myers, the chair, Commissioner McEnany, Commissioner Pinckney, Commissioner Hacker, and remotely we have Commissioner Kaplan online. I declare we have a quorum. Also in attendance, Aaron Glennon, the Deputy Planning Director, Christopher Lohman, the Preservation Planner, and Jason, I've forgotten your last name, Thomas, thank you. There's always one. Jason Thomas, representing council for the commission. Again, we have a quorum. I don't know if anyone has signed up to speak, and if anyone's watching on YouTube, welcome. proceed. We have 3 items. They are all public agenda or public hearing agenda items. So we can proceed with the first one. 15 Trinity Place in the Mansion Historic District. And the task before the commission is the seeker lead agency declaration for the City of Albany Planning Board. Aaron, is there anything else to report on that particular item?
This had come,
It was a workshop
this
item.
had come as a workshop item. It requires a, development plan review from the planning board, as well as there was a lot modification and a zoning map amendment to bring the 2 parcels into alignment. And so this part of the State Environmental Quality Review Act, the planning board will be the lead agency to circulate all the environmental documentation and information for this project. And this is just, we need a motion to accept or consent to them acting as lead agency.
I make a motion to accept.
Second?
Okay, we have a motion that's been made and seconded. I don't imagine there's any further discussion on this item. But I will call it to a vote. All those in favor of the motion? Opposed? All right.
Aye.
Thank you, Marilyn.
Slight
Well,
delay.
hi all.
When are they coming back?
2 weeks.
So they'll have to do seeker first.
Okay,
So depending on if they get seeker closed out within this month, it could be next meeting or they'll be
Okay.
moved to the fall.
all right.
And this, they also have to still go for their, public hearing to the planning board before the HRC can take action.
We should also, I guess, down the line too, we can discuss some of the detail with the preservation easement as well, the facade of that building. Just some things to go over there.
Next item on the agenda is 126 State Street. And that's in the downtown Albany Historic District. Again, this is a seeker lead agency declaration for the planning board to act as the lead agency in the environmental review of this project. And this was the one that was discussed, I think it was a workshop item at the
Yeah.
last meeting.
And so the same, kind of the same thing for this project as 15 Trinity Place. It's going for a development plan review through the planning board. Again, they'll be acting as the lead agency to circulate the environmental review. And
To
this-
note, Commissioner Tobin has arrived, so we have a supermajority, super quorum.
Make a motion to accept.
I'll second.
We have a motion that has been made and seconded, in trouble with that word. All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. That one was carried.
Thank you.
Next item on the agenda is 376, 378 Broadway in the downtown Albany Historic District. Is,
Yes.
Chris,
I need to recuse myself from this.
okay?
You have to leave?
And recused.
Not fully, I'm back.
Okay.
Chris, if you're coming back or if you get locked out, just let me know.
Okay, this is an application for a certificate of appropriateness for the restoration of the facade of the building and also the alteration of the storefront to conform to some current planning within the building. Introduce yourself, speak on behalf of the project.
Yeah, my name is Neil McGreevy. I own McGreevy Pro Lab and Pro Press, which is, well, it's right across from the D&H building on that very historical block, which the one end has the old railway station, on the block. Anyway, oh yeah, there's a picture of it. I mean, that's an amazing block. So my building is the one with the red brick in the middle. Just to the right of that car. And it's the very bottom section that we want to remove, which has got the metal around it, and replace it with what we found was the old historical storefront. And I've received a lot of positive feedback on this project because I put in for a grant, for a matching grant for it, and it was approved. And so that was really the reason I'm really doing it, is because there was some grant money available, and I've always wanted to update this building, make it look better.
How long have you had it?
I've
You've been
owned
here a
this
long
building,
time.
I've been in business for 35 years. I've been at this location for, I don't know, almost all of it. And so I am one of the oldest businesses in downtown Albany that's still operating. I mean, it's amazing. It really ages me, but that's what I am. That's what I am.
When you bought the building, was the storefront like this?
Yeah, it was like that. And there it is. And so in my description of it, I just say it uses a really odd mix of materials. It was kind of a hack job. I mean, look, it's got the slate, it's got red brick that's not even historical brick, it slants back. I don't know what the inspiration for it was, but that's what we want to replace. And I do have a picture of so there is that's what it used to look like when it was probably, we're guessing, we don't know if that was its first iteration, but that's the historical picture we found. And what's interesting about this is that it also has this railing at the second level, which is really quite unique. It's got the steel railing. And I always wondered about that because on the second floor, those windows go from the floor all the way up. And I always wondered, why do those windows go all the way to the floor? Well, because there was a little, who knows?
Really, a balcony.
Little balcony. Of course, we won't be able to use it as a balcony, but we're gonna put it back decoratively. You know, that's the plan.
And it's going to be recreated as an iron railing?
Yeah, we found a company that will do that. Yeah. And they'll make that railing for us. And so John G. Waite, who's just down the block a little bit from us, and maybe you're familiar with his work, but he really is significantly, does a lot of historical stuff. And when I talked to him and told him I was doing this, he's like, oh, great. And so kind of pro bono, he's just sort of took the project under his wing and assigned a few people at it. And then he's going to give me even better drawings and stuff. But he's kind of doing it as a favor to me. And right away, they came over and they were measuring things and looking at it, like, oh, it'd be wonderful to get this building back. It's really the only one on the block that stands out as not being.
Right.
Yeah.
Other than the bus station.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's another story.
That's a whole nother story.
Its own era.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Yeah, so.
That looks great. Did you flip the photograph shows the entrance and
yeah, if you go to the historical picture.
Yeah.
There's another one. There was on this, you have this picture here, which compares the one at the top to the one on the bottom.
No, but give me 2 seconds.
Okay. So, yeah, you can see the door there. If you count across, you get two window panels, then a door, and then the window.
Yeah.
So the store divided in half with the window in the third, with the door in the third. We want to put the door in the second.
Okay.
And the reason for that is we already have an existing storefront there and a really, really beautiful sort of exhibit space counter area. In fact, just before I came down, because I had a feeling that's what this was about, I made these, where should I just hold them up? This is our storefront area here. Okay. And
I'm a regular customer.
okay. And so, in fact, this is a new exhibit we just put up this week, and we're having an opening tomorrow night for it. And this is looking back at the road. So, these two. So, it would be tough, because the other side is a workspace, which we have our computers and our printers and our scanners and all this other stuff in there. So it would be it wouldn't work to put it on the other side for the way it originally is. And I also, this particular picture here shows now and then, and I see that 3 of the buildings have flopped their doors from this point. Oh, there it is. Okay, so, yeah, so if that's, what the concern is, I think this particular doorway used to be in the second quadrant, now it's in the third, from there to there. And then this is the John G. Waite building, I think that hasn't changed. This one has changed though. The doors are now on the far side, and there, used to be there and there. So, I think it's just a matter of what suited the building or restaurant or whatever they were doing.
What is the, how do you access the upper floors?
Well, only we do, because it's a workspace.
Oh, so you own the entire building? The entire building is agreement? Second and third and fourth floor?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
They're cold storage. I've always wanted to turn them into something, apartments or something, but the access has been a bear to figure out, because it would need another stairwell. I did look into it years ago. It would need a whole other stairwell.
Another entrance?
Yeah.
Entry to it.
Well,
in the back, I only Liberty Street, which is another building, which is only a 2-story, they're connected, you can walk right through. But, no, in fact, what makes the most sense is for the building next to me to buy my building. I tried to buy that building at one point too, the one next to me, because they could share a stairwell. I had an architect looking at it, Michael Kittner, was interested in the project for years, and he came through and looked at it. And he said, buy that building, you don't have to build a $100,000 stairwell. So, but I tried and I couldn't get it. But
So the original building had one entry on Broadway?
yeah, it did. It had one entry on Broadway, and what's interesting with this whole block, upstairs, all these buildings are connected by doorways that are now bricked in. And they're all beefed up with really huge I-beams. Like, my second floor is like, what were they doing upstairs? I guess General Electric owned the block, or part of the block at one point, and they were doing some serious machine work or something up there, because my building, Jim's building next to me, the building to the right, which is the Smith and Mahoney building, they're all connected on the upper floors. Yeah, but not anymore.
I'm gonna tell you a funny story. I don't know whether it's funny or not, but I started working with Misa Cohen Waite back in 1989. And when Jack split up from Misa and Cohen in 1995, we moved. Well, I went with Jack. It was just a total split.
Oh, you work for John G. Waite?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
For 19 years.
You still work there?
No.
No.
2008 I left.
Right.
But in 1995, they split. So Jack bought the wing building, RB wing building next door. So we actually created a hole between the two buildings to move furniture.
On the first floor?
No, I was on the third floor. I don't know how many floors he busted through, but maybe there was original openings that he knew about.
Yeah. But that's one of the most beautiful buildings on the block. That
It's still really is pretty nice.
But the whole block is magnificent.
It is. Yeah, it is.
Other than the trains to the bus station. The bus station messes it up.
Oh, bus station's not so bad.
Yes, it is. Yeah, it's all right. They need to take it away and put it somewhere else. I wonder what was there historically. I wonder what
Well,
was
you
on
wanna hear
that
an
point.
interesting story on that, if you want. Okay, so Jack, said to me one time, and I saw him, and he said, you know what? That bus station at the end is historically important building because,
Yeah.
oh, you know that.
Yeah,
It's
now-
a female architect, and she was very rare at the time. And he said, we're working on a plan to maybe make that a fireman's museum where the
Right.
whole bottom of it's glassed in and is a 24-hour exhibit from the outside.
Yeah.
And that was a few years ago, he said this to me. So if I start to do some drawings and need some photographs, are you in on to help me out? And I said, yeah, sure, I'm happy to help you out.
That's still their goal.
Is it?
They'd love that, yeah.
So is the storefront framing aluminum? Is it wood?
Right now?
What?
Oh, no,
what you
okay,
plan-
so,
whatever you plan on
the
doing?
plan is,
So you think the upper floors will always industrial or commercial or retail or
yeah, it
not,
was,
not residential?
no, it should be turned to residential.
Yeah.
Is probably its next life.
But at
That's where it's
one
gonna
point,
be.
it had the
It-
French
it-
windows going out
Oh,
too short.
Yeah, I don't know what that was all about, what that building, if it ever was residential, it doesn't look like it inside. It looks commercial all the way through.
Yeah.
The plan is to remove the existing storefront and replace it with a finely crafted, historically accurate restoration, which will be a close replica. The wood panel, the restored storefront will include traditional wood framing, wood panel bulkheads, a single recessed entry, 3 large display windows with divided transoms. So,
Sounds like wood.
it's all wood.
It's all wood.
Mhm. It's gonna be wood, yeah.
Jack wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah, we're just gonna, use the historical materials for it all. And some of the windows upstairs, because we're redoing all the windows too, not replacing them, fixing them,
Mm-hmm.
putting new weights in them and all that. And they've got the original wood. It's not bad shape. Even though some of it didn't have any paint on it, it's almost gone petrified. It still seems solid enough.
It's the virtue of old growth lumber.
There you go.
Yeah.
Just has tremendous longevity.
A lot of people don't believe that. They'd rather just replace it, if they want to
We'll
modernize.
do it again in another 20 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I make a motion to approve the recreation
Certificate of appropriateness.
certificate of appropriateness. Yeah, thank you. My man Jason, he can always go in there and correct me. Thank
We
you.
finish each other's sentences.
We have a motion. Is there a second? Is there any discussion prior to voting on the motion? Is Marilyn?
Marilyn, did you have a comment?
No, it's very exciting. It's great. Thank you.
Great, I'll call it to a vote then. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
It is carried. Christopher back in.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, this is exciting.
The door is locked downstairs, but not right.
It wasn't
It's
when I
only-
came in.
it's
It was a pleasure meeting you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you too. Thank you.
I know I got locked out once, so I just assumed.
Please give Jack. my
Yeah,
best.
I'll let him know. Yeah, we're having an opening tomorrow night for some photographs, and maybe he'll show up on that. So we've got a really great exhibit tomorrow night. There's a photographer from the area that shot Hollywood his whole life, like with Scorsese, all these people. And we've always done his printing, and so he finally agreed to do a show.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Just out of curiosity, are you guys mostly a print shop or?
Yeah, printing, scanning. Yeah, a pretty big outfit. I mean, we got like
I'll have to come
7 or
by.
8 people.
I've been getting all my prints online for a while.
Oh, yeah, come on down.
So yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
so much.
Thank you.
And then, since I know we're gonna be talking about, did anybody not get a chance to see the structural report? I printed some copies of what was submitted.
said you're gonna have a hard copy.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. If
Oh,
anybody needs
you got a hard copy?
Do we have any more applications to review? No, that is it.
We're just waiting on Chris to come back.
Yeah.
Thank you. Now, this is that building on the corner there.
You just got it, extra.
So this is home leasing building.
But it was it's the land bank.
It's the land bank, but home leasing was planning to,
Renovate the
yeah,
property.
because I remember it being on the screen.
Wouldn't they be responsible for the demolition, or they didn't own it?
Who?
The home leasing.
Home leasing doesn't own the properties currently. They're still under Albany County Land Bank ownership.
What led to this? What happened before this report was done, before the visual inspection on January 17th? Do you wanna?
Sure. Well, so I guess, yeah, so the start of this would be, just so it's all easily on record, is obviously we had approved COAs and facade work and restoration work. On the 17th, there was, I guess, an inspection done that stated that, well, they had stated they did an inspection, as in the letter. About, I don't remember the exact day, but it was right before I went out of town, so it was last week or so. They had contacted notifying us that they had noticed some structural concerns. They were going to be putting in a permit, a COA, most likely to do stabilization work. I went out of town, building.
Yeah. And based on what, I don't know if, one of the things that I had heard was that someone had noticed that the T111 with the mural had started to pull away, which it sounds like that had then kind of put into action the land bank and CT Mall going out to do the inspection of the property, to inspect that sidewall for stabilization purposes. But then the building came down.
So it came down on its own.
No, it came down.
No. I thought there was something about they lost the roof drain and.
That's what's
Yeah,
in
it's
the
in the
letter,
letter.
is that they're citing that there was lots of material around the roof drain causing infiltration and some other things, but, they're very.
But-
This is not, I would not call this a structural report,
No, it's not, it's
There's
just some
no-
photographs.
information about it, I
It's a
did,
report of opinion. It's not a,
And-
doesn't have the structural analysis associated with it.
I did talk with my one colleague, Avi Epstein, this afternoon. He has a standing call with Will Sakula at the land bank. Who Will was the one that had reached out to Chris to inform him that they were looking at going out to assess the building for stabilization. And I asked Avi that when he speaks with Will, if he could see if there's any additional information, whether there's any site notes, documentation, or whatnot from their January 17th evaluation, and if they would be willing to share that with us so that we can at least have any of that information as well, and that I may be following up with additional questions to see, what other information can be provided as to, what the actual condition of the building was and that caused them to recommend condemnation.
I wonder when Rick had to get involved with this, right?
So.
He's the demolition, he's the
I
one that
think-
pushes the button.
Well, I think after CT Mall had made the determination to condemn the building and that it was unsafe, unfit, the city was, I believe, I'm not 100% sure, but I would have believed that Rick would have been informed because they have 24 hours to remove the building. So I know that they did do bids and other such things as part of the emergency action.
So I guess I understand to some extent if you're the city and you have a report from a structural engineer that says their structural engineering opinion is that the building is structurally unsound and should be condemned. given the amount of work that had gone into planning for rehabilitating this building, and based on the photographs, and there's nothing in this letter saying that any of these conditions are new. And I don't even understand why are we looking at a picture of a wall, like this isn't part of the building? So what I really would like to understand is what happened that led them to hire CT Mall to come in and make this report, because it smells to me like the land bank or somebody didn't want to do this project anymore and called them in to issue this determination. And I'm just making a supposition here, but nothing here looks new, and I want to know what's new from when we sat here and approved the rehabilitation project. And the roof drain certainly should not have been new. And having floor collapsing around the roof drain is a very solvable problem that does not need an entire building to come down. So, and I would like to understand the other structural issues with the building.
Mhm.
And if this was the fact that the T111 was pulling away, I mean, then that's not a very thorough structural engineer. So I'd really like the land bank to explain how this is not a self-made hardship demolition.
It makes way for a slab foundation. I think that's what they wanted.
Well, exactly. They didn't want to do the rehabilitation project, so they hired somebody to come and do this very cursory inspection that then, not to mention, it's controlled demolition with asbestos in place. And I just want to state here in this public meeting that that means that there is asbestos released because of the law that says you don't have to do hazardous materials abatement. So that is a negative environmental impact, an environmental justice issue for the neighborhood.
Boy, Aaron, very impressive. You're kind of, you're reading, you're trying to understand the sequence, and it's great. Yeah. What does Rick say? Anybody talk to him about it? No. Okay. Yeah.
He's the one that hit the button.
I
Yeah.
think now would definitely be a good time to throw out a suggestion. I imagine, Aaron, certainly, correct me if I'm wrong here, I imagine no conversations have really taken place, like you said so far. It's kind of obvious just having these discussions. So whatever particular questions and requests you have, like you mentioned, the land bank and explanation, this would be the time to kind of just tell us what you want to know, and then Aaron and Chris can kind of pass on those concerns by the next meeting or over email before the next meeting. We can probably get you those responses. But right now, I think we all have similarly scarce information on what happened here. So
Was Historic Albany informed? Were they
Yes,
given?
they were informed.
They were informed. Were they given any of the?
I don't know. All I know is that they were informed.
But I think the concerning thing is obviously this had come to us as a project with all of the, discussion associated with it as a viable project.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, it has disappeared. Just,
No, I mean, it was
fall.
It was this past fall that they finally came through and got all of their approvals. So, I mean, there is, we haven't seen or had any information from home leasing either in terms of what their plans are for either going back and filling that lot, if that's going to be part of the development. So those are some questions that we will also have to follow up with home leasing on. And whether
Who owned it?
Albany County Land Bank
Owned it.
owns the building.
And home leasing was under contract that they were going to renovate.
Correct.
Yes.
So, it was part of the the new phase of affordable housing development, both in the district and outside the district that's taking place.
Maybe conditions were bad when we approved the project.
Could have been, I mean,
Did we ever finalize the projects they were?
Yes.
yes.
They had certainly gone into the building.
So, yeah, as Jason said, and I know I had put in the email when I circulated the document, if you do have any questions, if anything does come up, please let me and Chris know, and we will try to do our best to gather any additional information that we can, so.
We'll circulate what we can.
Being that it is such a prominent corner, I mean, it would be, hopefully we can work with home leasing or anyone to infill back on that lot, so.
Visually, it's a loss to the neighborhood too.
Or even two lots, since the old Stewart's used to be on the corner. So now you have, I hate to
Right.
see any corner building go because it means it's just affected two streets and streets around, corners around it.
Yeah.
And you would think that whatever the next proposal might be what to do with two lots instead of one empty lot.
Yeah, the original proposal for that, that strip of Henry Johnson Boulevard, there's a large scale apartment building going on the corner, of First and Henry Johnson across from the library, as part of this project as well. And then the plan was to then renovate 337 and do a park in between that went from the corner where the Stewart's was up to the back of the new apartment building with amenities for the community and the residents.
We've got a couple of examples of people that have taken corner pieces of property. Thinking of the one on the corner of Lexington and Clinton, for example. And also to some extent when the former Northern Boulevard, now Henry Johnson, same thing, building was lost. And turning corners into parks, I'm not sure that's the closest thing when you're trying to preserve an historic neighborhood. In fact, you're going exactly, it's a lot easier to have a missing tooth and you have something that can be very attractive. But you then expose a building that was never intended to have its longest side see the light of day, at least for the public. And when you then say, oh, well, we're going to keep it that way, you're perpetuating an accident that happened long ago and took the building, which was intended to keep that not hidden from public view, making it public view, and there's no way you can really make it look right. And, I would think if something is going to be done for that neighborhood, they should restore the corner with something rather than create another too narrow to be really used and call it a park.
I think the thing about calling it a park also is unless it's a city park where there's a commitment to a design that fits the community and its maintenance, that if it's really just a big grass lot, it's not going to be used and it's not going to be very well taken care of. So.
It usually exposes something that was never intended to be exposed.
Yep. So what kind of scale, what would the height be of something at that location? And does anyone think that was part of a
There's one building still.
opportunity create?
It's just it's not even 2.5, it's just 2 stories tall.
Yeah.
Either one of these buildings, the one that's gone now. The one that was torn down that's no longer there, I actually had to sign off when I was the head of the Historic Sites Commission because it collapsed. And that's a vacant lot now. I think that was 331. And that was 40, 50 years ago.
Wow.
So I guess my question for the land bank would be, what is their plan for it now? They must have been talking to home leasing, so, is there an idea of what they would like to propose for us to review and approve?
Erin, is that really your question, or is that your question number 2?
That's my question number 2. I'm assuming you got all my questions in the first.
Yeah.
All right.
Also, just to answer the question, I guess, of building height in that area for zoning is, I believe, still 3 stories. It's an MUNE,
Yes.
so.
Yeah.
It'll only be 3 stories.
And we approved the corner plan already, right? So.
You may want to revisit, because now I think you could build a pretty decent building, which would look somewhat like a block right on the corner. We just did that on much larger, but we just did it, approved it on Wilson Street in North Pearl. Talked about it quite a bit.
Yeah.
And maybe something like that, a little bit smaller, but something like that would be appropriate for that. That's a very significant, high trafficked 4 corners there.
Yes. Yes, it is.
Anything else to come before the commission this evening?
Just the one thing, Manali Gandhi is our newest planner. She's sitting here, so she's coming and observing all the meetings.
Welcome.
She just started with us
Let me
and
put her name down here for notes.
You're going to have loads of fun.
Manali, M-O, and she's our newest addition. We're happy to have her.
Can we talk about Lee getting in the newspaper? With home leasing.
Any
Yeah,
other?
I can't review any projects. All I did was write a letter to Kiri about my thoughts and feelings in regards to the pile driver. And his lawyer had a copy of the letter and did this injunction thing. And next thing I knew, there was a reporter involved. He may have looked at the letter, he may not have, but Kiri, he didn't even meet with Kiri. I thought he was gonna meet with the owner. So that's what came out of, Kiri must have said, been treated unfairly, pile driving 4 feet from my house. And then another episode, 6 feet from my house, and it's caused some damage.
Yeah.
And they haven't followed suit. And I think it's rather appalling. Home leasing is supposed to be this knight in shining armor, and in some cases, they just poo-poo, the little guy. He ain't a little guy, he's got property on Morton Avenue, he's got property here.
The recent actions of home leasing seem to be disappointing.
Just they tell him, well, we're dealing with it, we'll get back to you, and they never get back to him. I mean, he's a human being, he owns property. They wouldn't want somebody to do that to them, and is there a racial issue there? Possibly, The reporter didn't say anything, Kiri spoke about it, but I don't think he wants to delve into that. But it could be. I shared my letter, shared it with Rick. And Kiri told me around a year ago, he went to the city asking for some help, and Rick told him it's a private matter. The city can't get involved. So when I presented this letter a year later to Rick, he told me that he would share it with council building inspector. I don't know what he did.
If you want to share it with me, I'll certainly take a look, but I have not seen any letters.
Okay.
Although I don't know specifically too much about this, I would say though, from what I'm hearing, it does sound like it probably would be a private thing in the sense, I understand it's definitely frustrating when things like that happen and the city can't get involved, but if it's between two private property owners, there's nothing we can do about that ultimately because we have no like stake in the property. You know, there could always be other things depending on what's going on, but yeah, I'd certainly like to see a letter.
Yeah, when I get home, I'll email it.
At minimum, it's a lesson learned on, or requiring in documentation for new projects, what their plan is to address the neighboring building. And that's why we brought that up with the scattered sites in the south end.
Absolutely.
On the heels of this problem, that, this is a serious concern. And theirs is mitigated because most of them don't have basements, so they're not doing any excavation or deep foundations. But home leasing certainly, had the control of this thing, and they should have been monitoring the building next door.
They were supposed, it's in IBC code, which Rick says, he has to look, he doesn't know whether Albany complies or whether New York State complies with this code, but it says that any, and I'm not saying it word for word, but any new construction, the owner of the new construction, it's his or her responsibility to protect the neighboring building from damage that they may cause. Now, who the hell is gonna go up there and pound some damn steel beams 26 feet deep? For what reason? And they're there and they're not supporting anything. They're just there. You can visibly see it, not unless they've covered it up. Why? It doesn't make sense. Yeah, I'll share that with you.
Was the work that was done consistent with the foundation drawings for the new construction? Lee, do you know?
I don't know.
That was approved,
know.
because that's what was,
We
that's,
approved because we reviewed the project.
yeah, but we wouldn't review that. I guess my question is, when a building permit was issued, it showed the proposed foundation, it had a location, right? It was X many feet from this
Yeah,
building.
actually, it's like 10 feet away from, it's actually 10 feet. The wall is already constructed, but the foundation wall itself is 10 feet, around 10 feet away from Curie's east wall.
I guess my question is, I'm sorry if I'm not clear, the question is how it was constructed now, the piles and all, are they consistent with the drawings the structural drawings that were approved by the city?
I don't know.
Yeah, how would you get a set of those drawings?
Yes, I'd have to check.
How would you?
How would you get a set of the drawings? The city has the drawings on file.
A FOIL request, but you might also be able to go into I don't know when they applied for the permits and would have submitted their plans, but if you go through the public portal, they might be accessible through the public portal, but you can always FOIL those documents as well.
If anyone's going to pursue this or wants to know more about the code, so Lee, the New York State Code is based on the international IBC, but they're not the same. And our New York State Code is the 2020, it's called 2020 New York State Code, even though it's based on the 2018 I code. So if anyone's interested in seeing the language in the New York State Code, they're free online, the digital access to the New York State codes and the I codes. So if anybody needs to see that, I can very quickly show you how to get there. It's not a search, you can't search the document, but the full code is there. So it would really be the 2020 Building Code of New York State that would be the better reference.
I don't think his building's going to collapse, but, I don't think it's.
Well, you let one of these structural engineers take a look.
Yeah, right. Get CT
Oh,
Medical
that'd
out
be smart.
there, yeah.
Huh. Well, any good news?
Yeah, what about site inspection? You can attend, Maryland.
Oh, yeah, Marilyn did respond to the doodle poll as well.
Is she coming? You coming?
So the site inspection, or the site visit for 126 was canceled because of, Jen wasn't able to make it, so John was the only one who would have been able to. I'm gonna email them, try to set up another set of times, and then I'll just issue you all kind of the 2 or 3 time slots.
Thanks.
And then we all can just email back and pick one, we'll go from there and try to get you guys in the site.
That doodle thing kind of.
Yeah. Yeah, so we'll do that, and I'll try to get them in. The goal obviously will be this month, so that way if they do end up on the March agenda, you guys will have been on the site, okay?
When you coming back, Maryland?
February 26th.
Okay, we'll have some snow for you.
Don't ask, and I won't tell you anything about, let's not talk about weather. That would be cruel. I don't want to be cruel.
So your hair doesn't freeze when you go outside right now?
No, but when you listen to the radio, in the morning, they'll tell you the weather and they'll tell you the humidity. Do you know what the humidity here is? I'm in Tucson. They say the humidity today will be 4%.
Oh, yeah.
It's unbelievable. So your nose, your hands, your feet, 4%.
Like
We live at like 60%, right? 50 and 60. Yeah.
It was great, except if you get out in the outside areas.
That was no one, that's not.
I will entertain a motion to adjourn if there's nothing else to come before the commission.
I'll move.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Bye, all.
Not quite.
Good evening.